The boat will be docked next to the stairway. Do take care when using the stairway and keep your hands on the railings at all times. Wait for the boat to come to a complete stop and mind the gap between the boat and the jetty. Step onto the boat 1 foot at a time. Be careful and don't bump your head on the wooden panels above the doorways at the front and the back of the boat. While on the boat, do not put your hand or stick anything out of the window. For your own safety, do not stand on your seats or climb onto the roof. Should a life jacket be required, you will find it underneath your seat or at designated marked compartments on the boat. Unbuckle the buckle at the front of the jacket. Stretch one of your arms into the life jacket. Then stretch your other arm into the life jacket and engage the buckle. Adjust the buckle strap for a tight but comfortable fit. There are 2 exit doors located at the front and the back of the boat. Lifebuoys are also positioned at the front and back. In the event of a fire, fire extinguishers are located at designated locations inside the cabin. Smoking is not permitted on board the boat. Please do not throw any rubbish into the river. Please approach our crew members if you require any assistance. Thank you for cruising with Water Bee. We wish you a pleasant journey. Hong Lim Park. In colonial times, the area was notorious as a gathering spot for secret societies, opium smokers, and prostitutes. Most of the old buildings in the area were torn down and the waterfront go-downs refurbished. As colourful as it was in those days, we think you'd much prefer the present version. Clark Quay on your left is now a thriving entertainment area, bustling with eateries, night spots and entertainment. But it was a very different place from the 1800s until just a few decades ago. Hundreds of bumboats, or lighters, used to be moored here at any one time, disgorging their cargo, the lifeblood of Singapore's trade. The buildings along most of the quay were mostly go-downs, where the cargo would have been stored. The shop houses were 2 to 3 floors high. Typically, the ground floors would have been reserved for the shops and trading offices, with the upper floors serving as housing for working-class families and coolies. Living conditions were not luxurious, but living near your workplace had some advantages. Named after Singapore's second governor, Sir Andrew Clark, Clark Quay is considered a historically significant area, and plans were put in place to preserve its architectural character around the time of the Singapore River cleanup in the 1980s. It reopened in late 1993 as Clark Quay Festival Village. At that time, it was Singapore's most ambitious conservation project, costing over 180 million Singapore dollars. It won the best
Này.
First built in 1840, the original Coleman Bridge was only the second bridge across the river. It was designed by and named after G.D. Coleman, the first superintendent of public works, who also designed the first government house at Fort Canning Hill, the Armenian Church, and the former Parliament House. This is not the original bridge, which was rebuilt in 1865 and again in 1886. The current structure, modelled after the 1886 bridge, was built between 1986 and 1991 to accommodate greater traffic flow.
Yeah.
Singapore's first bridge built a purpose of connecting the Indian community in the north and the Chinese community in the south, and was named after Lord Elgin, Viceroy in India in 1862.
Sige na, si tatay.
Ako sa dilo. Dito na kasama para mag-iyan. Very good.
A vital part of Singapore from the earliest colonial days, Boat Quay was, for over a century, the backbone of trade. This was where thousands of bumboats delivered their precious cargo, where enterprising traders and businessmen congregated, and where fortunes were made. Just opposite the spot where Sir Stamford Raffles, founder of modern Singapore, first landed, this area has remained vital throughout Singapore's history. Most of the businesses were confined to the south bank of the river, with the north bank reserved for government purposes. There is a good reason for that. At its widest point, the south bank swells to resemble the belly of a car, an auspicious creature to the Chinese. With leading banks vying for space and aerial dominance in this financial district, you'll find two of the tallest buildings in Singapore in the vicinity, UOB Plaza 1 and One Raffles Place, both 280 meters tall. One Raffles Place, originally OUB Centre, was, at the time of its completion in 1986, the world's tallest building outside North America. In the 1980s, with the river cleanup well underway, it was decided to preserve the historic charms of Boat Quay's go-downs and shophouses. Today, it is a popular spot for food, recreation and pubbing, especially for those who work in the area, now primarily white-collar professionals. Cavanagh Bridge, coming up now, is the oldest bridge in Singapore still in its original form. Built in 1869, it was originally planned to be named the Edinburgh Bridge to commemorate the Duke of Edinburgh's visit, but instead was named after Governor Sir William Cavanagh. The grand building just beyond Cavanagh Bridge is the Fullerton Building, now a 5-star hotel. It was built on the site of the former Fort Fullerton. The fort had been heavily criticized for years. Merchants felt strongly about a possible military target being located so close to their businesses. So, the fort was eventually removed and replaced by the post office in 1874. The merchants we're sure breathed a sigh of relief. The existing structure, built in the center of Singapore.
40 floors.
How many floors?
I have no idea. Ano video na ko ba? Dugmo na to video. Saya ko pa. Daw color dun siya. Daw di na Merlion.
Ha?
Daw na Merlion diri. 40 plus. Pero di Merlion. Nagdi-renovate sa mga isla. Tara na yun.
Pero dili mato na Merlion.
Pagyan na to na.
Dili pa dili mato. I-renovate mo.
The Anderson Bridge holds the distinction of being Singapore's first steel bridge. As with earlier bridges, the structural steel components were made in Britain and shipped here. During the Japanese occupation of World War II, the severed heads of criminals were displayed on the bridge as a warning to citizens. In 1987, there was a grisly reminder of this violent past. The skeleton of a man was found by a maintenance worker while he... Built in 1997, the Esplanade Bridge serves as part of the Singapore Grand Prix circuit. It offers great views of Marina Bay and is often crowded with pedestrians during festive events such as fireworks displays, a fact which led in part to the construction of the Jubilee Bridge. It was Singapore's first Prime Minister, the late Lee Kuan Yew, who first suggested the construction of the Jubilee Bridge. During a visit, he had observed that the walkway along the Esplanade Bridge was narrow and not very pedestrian friendly. This new pedestrian bridge boasts a walkway 3 times as wide and was named to celebrate Singapore's 50th year of independence. Often referred to as the Merlion, even locals sometimes forget that the famous statue is one of 7 approved by the Singapore Tourism Board.
The Merlion, love. There.
The Merlion
There.
is a
Here.
version located just
There.
behind it. The fish body symbolizes our history as a fishing village, but where does the line come from? For that, we have to go back to the 13th century.
Liha.
The island, known as Temasek or Seatown, was part of
That one with the one, that's the Merlion, love.
In 1299, Sang Nila
Yeah, kanang kitabunan.
Prince of the Empire, landed on the island on a hunting trip with his men. He spotted a strange animal,
Nay.
a fast, magnificent creature. Curious,
Love, smile, love.
he asked his
Be
friend
smile.
what it was, and was told it
Tarong
was a
ba?
lion. Believing it to be a sign of good fortune, he decided to build a new city here and named it Singapura, which means Lion City. Today, experts doubt that lions were ever found here, and that Sang Nila Utama saw a tiger, or perhaps an Asian golden cat, a medium-sized wildcat.
The Merlion is covered. Love, that's the Merlion, love. Covered. Oh, sorry. Next time na lang, love.
Ako sa una, kita mo na. Oo, nagawin kita sa una. Grabe na kami piligan. Nakapoy.
Dali, love. Dali, love. Smile na. Ay, sabutin mo.
Di man makuha ano eh. Hmm.
You drink water, love.
I drink water already.
You're full na, be? Fountain, love.
Built in 1933, Clifford Pier became an important point of landing and departure for Singapore.
Touch the fountain, love.
Ships were anchored in harbour and their passengers ferried to the pier in smaller boats. In colonial times, it was also the venue for New Year's Day boat races, with vessels as diverse as sampans, small flat-bottom boats, and yachts taking part, cheered on by throngs of Europeans and locals. In 2004, with Marina Bay dammed to create the Marina Bay Reservoir, the old pier no longer served its original purpose and was to be
Oh.
replaced. The
Love,
last
smile, be, ha?
departed
We're
in
going to Marina Bay, ha?
2006.
Smile ka.
However, in 2007, Clifford Pier was gazetted for
Kamu dia, kay-
conservation,
dito ka.
its
Kamu gawin
structure
dito.
preserved, and the cast iron red lamps that gave it its Malay name Lampu Merah restored. Today, it is part of Singapore's Fullerton Heritage Precinct, a reminder of simpler, slower times. Much of the area around you is reclaimed land. And that's what our award-winning Marina Bay Financial Centre sits on. Singapore's total land area has grown by an incredible 25% since the 1960s by the process of land reclamation. Earth from hills, the seabed, and from other countries has been used to create more usable land area. Though this process started during the colonial days, it has been taken to another level since. Compare a map of the island from the 1950s to a modern one, and the difference is striking. Did you know that we are sailing not on seawater, but on freshwater? We are now in Marina Reservoir. Created by damming the mouth of Marina Channel, the reservoir is Singapore's largest, fed by the Singapore River, Kallang River, and Rochor Canal. Singapore has long relied on neighboring Malaysia for fresh water, and the reservoir stunning structure was, on its completion, the most expensive building ever constructed. More expensive than even the 829-meter tall Burj Khalifa. At the top, its unique cantilevered sky park boasts breathtaking views. The lotus flower-shaped structure next to it is the Art Science Museum, venue for At 280 meters, the helix is 2,000 feet. It offers unparalleled views from its 28 air-conditioned capsules. At the apex of the 30-minute ride, visibility extends to up to 45 kilometers. In clear conditions, you can see parts of Malaysia and Indonesia.
What lap?
Louis Vuitton.
You want to buy there? Something?
At Marina Bay, also known as the Marina Bay Floating Platform, is the largest of its kind in the world. Designed as a temporary replacement for the National Stadium, which was being built